Hey guys and girls, Anthony 4x4 Diesel. Just wanted to give you some preliminary findings on this 2022 registered Prado GX in relation to fuel economy, the transmission, and the engine. And it's absolutely not even, we're not even going to compare because they're not comparable. It's absolutely chalk and cheese here. The transmission software has been changed that much. It's not even a little bit of a change. Chalk and cheese, people. It is how it should have been in the first place. And Toyota should be really disappointed with what they did with the 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, and I think it changed what they call the 2020 model. I'm not sure what month it changed, but the transmission shifts are completely different. Now, a lot of people, of course, own those vehicles, and I'm sure they love them and they work really well for them, and that's fine. But from a mechanical perspective and understanding the operation of the transmission and when the torque converter is slipping, it is absolutely disgusting the way it was set up before. The slightest hills, the torque converter unlocking, what happens now is it pulls up hills really well, lower, medium and higher speeds in every gear. It just works really well. I'm very fussy with things, and usually I can point out ways to make improvements on many things. This is something that you cannot be made, there's not an improvement that I could recommend. There's no improvement to be made. The transmission software on this vehicle right here is absolutely perfect. We'll have a little bit of a look around in a moment under the engine bay, but as you can see, it's the same engine. It's much the same. It is the same engine. There's a lot of talk, you know, you can read write-ups, and whoever gave the information and whoever wrote it and interpreted it into their own words, whatever the case may be, you can talk about it being a new engine or a different engine. It is the same engine. It's the 1GD. It may have a different turbo and it's been remapped, and it's certainly putting out more power and more torque. And we're going to get in a little bit more in that and a lot more in videos later on. So if you haven't already, subscribe and turn the bell on, because this is going to be ongoing information. But as I said at the start, preliminary findings. We've done about just over 300 Ks, okay? And in that amount of time, so obviously the vehicle's pretty well stock standard, and that's where we need to get those initial things. And another thing I'd like to mention, a lot of people talk about fuel economy and power and talk, and they go, oh, you know, it'll give it another 10,000 Ks, another 20, and it'll loosen up a bit. Mate, what a lot of rubbish, I've got to tell you, right? Now, sorry to those people that believe that, but if that's what happened for you, that's awesome, and it may have happened for you, of course, because that was your experience. But the fact of the matter is, the fuel economy, you know, the engine might be a little bit tight, but it's not that tight that it's going to change the fuel economy. As things, it's actually going to get worse, because we're going to put off-road tyres on, and we want to have a direct comparison for those people that were watching and listening to educate themselves, to help make decisions. I'm sorry about the wind, it's a bit breezy out here, guys, you get that? So hopefully it's not too bad. Maybe we'll get in somewhere out of the breeze for a bit, eh? Let's have a look around under the engine bay for a bit, and we'll just have a bit of a look around. So as I've mentioned in some posts on our Facebook groups, and perhaps not too much in a video, one of the biggest improvements that you can see when you first open the bonnet is the use of these clamps on the turbo hoses. So that's from the turbo to the intercooler. Big improvement, because we noticed previously was the traditional hose clamps, which did the job, but they regularly slip back a little bit and the hose becomes sort of a bit, you know what I mean. The people that know what I mean know what I mean. If you don't know what I mean, go and have a look under your bonnet and you will soon know what I mean. Sorry about that. So yeah, there's a different turbo down there. I haven't read up a lot about it, but I can tell you from driving it, I would guess it's probably a little bit bigger, because to get a bit more power and torque, you'd want a turbo that's a bit bigger. The downside to that is the lag. So there's definitely more lag there. So when you're driving slowly and off the mark, you know, that bit of lag you've already got in the 150 Prados, the 1KD, and you've got it in the, probably a little bit less in the 1GD, but this one's even worse than the 1KD, probably because of the bigger turbo. So the negative, the first little negative is, as you're moving off the mark gently, not much happens with that pedal. I suppose if you just really got into it straight away, you might, be careful of some of these edges. Not too bad, but you know, it's good on the outside, but I just got distracted by that. I looked at it and went, that looks, yeah, sharp as. Anyway, What was I saying? See, easily distracted. We know that. In case anybody's not sure, that's your 5th injector there. And look, it's already done a DPF burn. It did a DPF burn at about 230 kilometres. The good news is, there's a lot of good news with this. If you saw at the start of the video, the fuel economy, I don't want to mislead you, so I'm going to give you the actual real information on that. And you really should check out our fuel economy playlists. I'm just getting under the bonnet a bit here, so hopefully the microphone's not in the wind, because I know the wind can be really annoying. There's going to be a lot more videos out of the wind, but this one I was a bit excited, to be quite honest. So we drove from Melbourne to Bendigo, which is kind of a bit of a regular drive in our vehicles, and we get to see a fair idea of what the fuel economy would be. And in the 1GD, in the 2019 Prado, because there's a lot of sort of slightly uphill, undulating a few hills, and so transmission constantly slipping, you know, this, that and the other, and it seems to be always working, and the fuel economy is really up there. Well, the worst I saw on this at any time throughout the trip was about 12, and by the time I got to our destination, it was resting on 9 litres per 100 k's. That's your new engine. That's your tight engine. That's your one that you reckon it's going to get better later. It's not going to get much better than that, to be quite honest. You could drive it. What's going to happen is, from your crankcase ventilation and your EGR, things are going to start to cake up. It's not going to breathe as well. Filters are going to get dirty. Sensors aren't going to be as new as they were before. Engines are going to start wearing. Compressions are going to go down, not up. So things are actually, the truth is, it's not going to be a big difference, hardly measurable. But if anything, it's from this point onwards, it's going to get worse, not better, generally, is what's really going to happen. And as we add our modifications, people will want to argue about this, but the main one that's going to make the biggest difference is the tyres. We'll just move around this side because you're probably getting a bit bored with the view. You can see we put the Century Dual Force securely in place. That's ready to go, rock solid. We're just waiting on some a bracket here, and you'll be quite surprised about our setup and what we're going to do different with this one. And that's what we do things differently. We're going to leave the original battery here for now. These are a really awesome battery for anyone that doesn't go off-road or doesn't go much. I could almost recommend, you know, hit up every battery, and you know, it's the Panasonic battery. I believe Panasonic make these for Yuasa, you know what I mean? So I could be wrong, but you know, those battery specialists, they will know and be able to confirm that is correct information, or no, they just look the same, so he's got it wrong this time. What's a fact, and they'll agree if they are a really good battery. What they could let you down on is, you know, when you hit those corrugations, if you do a lot of outback traveling. But the ones we've tested so far, we haven't had any issues with these ones. So because it's new, we're going to stick with it for at least a few years. We'll see how it goes. We're going to run the Century Dual Force, see how that goes a bit further. But the video was really about fuel economy and how there's no issue with this vehicle. But look, I just want to give you a quick warning. Don't get too excited and go ahead and buy one yet, because we need to talk about hybrids a bit more, and we're going to be talking about hybrids in some coming videos. And I believe the whole hybrid system's changed, and hybrid is just going to absolutely smash these things. All the people that love the V6 will go quiet. All the people that love the diesels will go quiet. Everybody is going to want a hybrid once they understand the difference compared to how hybrids used to be and how they are now, and the new bigger electric engine that will be in the Prado. This is what I believe, right? You know, it's like a, you know, I've got a feeling, I've got a sixth sense, you know. Of course, we don't know what Toyota are going to do. We don't know that even if they do it, if we're going to get it here in Australia or not. So we can't tell you what they're going to do, but based on, you know, a bit of wisdom, this is what we really think is going to happen. Now, this is really, if you love diesels and you like the 1GD and you like the idea of a, I think they've finally got it almost right. There's those clamps again, right? Just really awesome. So they've fixed up a lot of the little things. Does that mean you're not going to have the timing chain issues that were in some of the 1GDs? No, it doesn't mean that, but is that a big problem? It's not a massive problem. Does it mean you're not going to have DPF problems? Well, I don't know, because, you know, it's only been a short period of time that they've had all the latest software and everything upgraded to the way, you know, the way things could be, you know. So there's some sensors here. It's important to keep an eye on some of the models, these hoses. See how they're nice and straight? So that allows the sensor to take correct readings. If you've got a hose kinked, or one of them kinked out of the two, that could possibly mess with the readings. But look, it's passive regeneration now. That means it happens automatically regardless. And you know how we had the issue with the massive fuel use on the other one? Well, I've got to tell you, remember what I said. It already did a DPF burn on the highway coming up the hill, right? It didn't, look, I wasn't monitoring the situation. I was on the phone to someone, but I didn't notice that it was on the dash for long. I believe that it didn't go for too long. And whatever it did, it certainly didn't affect the fuel economy, because we got 9 litres per 100k, and that's about 100 and I think it's about 120 kilometre run, hour and 14 minutes anyway. It's in the first photo. I'll try and put it in again at the end, or not. It may or may not. The 6 litres per 100 k's. Now this is the misleading sort of thing people put up sometimes, you know. So I can be misleading as well, and it's not that misleading. I did get 6 litres per 100 k's, but that was like a 10-minute run on fairly flat ground at speeds of about 100 kilometres an hour. But that's starting off with a warm vehicle, driving really nicely. Like I said, at about 100 k's still, with a stock standard vehicle. So that is what it's capable of if you want to drive it for economy. So don't tell me that it needs to loosen up, it's going to get better later. It's not going to get better. If you drive it right, that's what you'll get. I know there's going to be a lot of questions with this. That's why I say subscribe, turn the bell on. Unfortunately, I can't answer all the questions, whether it's on the YouTube, on Facebook. The phone service is a text message service for parts purchases only, or to book into the Prado Hospital. But if you really want more information on these, I'm going to get as much of it out to you as fast as I can as we find it, and share it with you to help you make a decision whether you should upgrade from your 1KD, whether you should upgrade from your earlier 1GD, or whether you should hold position and wait for the hybrid, which I don't think is too far away, but you may just want a diesel engine. You may want to stick with your 1KD still, so I'm going to go through it with more detail. But yes, absolutely, the transmission is chalk and cheese, like I said at the start. Absolutely chalk and cheese. It's just, I'm so impressed with it. They couldn't have done better. I'm just super impressed with it. The engine, at the higher revs, it's certainly got a bit more power and a bit more torque, certainly. But it's got that lag down low, which is annoying. For me, I'm not a stop-start. I'm not going to the shops and back. This vehicle isn't going to the shops. It's not doing short trips. It's going to be set up for touring. When we get in this vehicle, it's going to travel minimum hundreds of kilometers usually, if not thousands. So it's highway speeds, cruising, it's fuel economy. I mean, as I tried explaining, it's really important not just to keep the transmission cool, but the difference in fuel economy from a vehicle with the torque converter always slipping and one that's locked. You can see we were able to get 6 litres per 100 k's without trying. I was just amazed. I looked at it. I left from the first stop, about another 10-12 minutes to go. Wow, it's on 8, 7, 7.1, 6.6.8, and I pull up and it's on 6. It's just awesome. I didn't try and do that. It just happened. I was driving nicely. I did do 100 k's. I took my time getting there, you know, just normal sort of driving. When you start off cold every time, it's going to use a bit more fuel until it warms up. But, you know, you could still get really good fuel economy out of the other one. But good fuel economy like that was 8 or 9. So, look, stay tuned. I'm really impressed if you can't tell. It's still a small engine. It's still too small for the vehicle, but it performs quite well, certainly not towing. But one other thing we're going to do with this one, for a good comparison, we're going to get a tow bar onto it, and we're going to do some towing. You know, we'll try and get maybe eventually get a caravan from somewhere or something. We'll do some towing, and we'll let you know what we think using this engine for towing and up to what weight, because we know the manufacturers might, for a lot of vehicles, say, oh, you know, 3 ton, but you know what we say. We say the big cruiser with the V8s or the V6s, whatever, they're your tow vehicles, right? You know, you need to have a better control of the situation if you're towing something that heavy. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We're out of here. Like I said, important to subscribe, turn the bell on if you don't want to miss that next bit of info, because it's coming soon. I hope you enjoyed something here. Sorry about the sun and the wind and all that, but I sort of wanted to be on the vehicle, but we've got a bit of breeze today, and we're out in the open. You can hear the birds chirping. Thanks for watching. See ya.